Cool. Okay. Okay. And again, we can cut things and stuff, so don't feel like it has to be perfect. But okay, so I wanted to again thank you for being on this call with me. And the first thing I wanted to do is just have you introduce yourself. So you could talk about who you are, the type of work you do, anything like that.
Okay, great. Um, um, my name is Lorraine Morland, and I'm an advocate coordination for the homeless people. I am a voice for homeless women. I do research about homelessness and women losing their children, and I try to find a way how to help them because it's very difficult when you're going through a process like that. Don't know what's going to happen, don't know anything. And so we always need someone. And I feel if I stand up and help, lend a hand, or embrace a mother and her child, because they need it too. And I just found myself being in the center of other people's situations to help them overcome and rise out of their situation. And that's what I do because, basically I was in that situation myself, and it wasn't pretty and it wasn't nice. It was devastating. So here I am. And if I can help anyone overcome the struggle, that's what it's all about. And I'm so thankful that you asked me to speak about this matter because it's important that we put it out there and embrace the mothers and children, and sometimes the fathers, because we have single fathers as well. But this is National Women's Month, and this is the best time to get it out there.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lorraine. It's so great to hear about your work and helping people who have been in similar situations as yourself. Is there let me see. Are there any specific organizations or groups that you work with that you've been working with to do this sort of work?
Yeah. Absolutely. I work with LA Can. I work with Los Angeles Poverty Department. I work with Good Shepherd Center for Homeless Women and Children. I work with Women Against Gun Violence. You name it, I work with them. If they call me, I suit up and I show up to be of service.
Yeah, that's really great. And so, something I wanted to ask you about is a lot of people who listen to us talk about the child welfare system may not necessarily be knowledgeable about what that system is and sort of what it's like to be involved in that system. So what happens when, CPS comes into your life? Is there anything that you can say to some of these listeners or people who might want to know more or have more knowledge about what the system does and what their role is or has been in your life?
The system is a very hardcore situation. And if you don't get the right people to help you, it goes down the drain. The system needs to change, and we're fighting for that right now as we speak. To change the system, to have a more understanding of what mothers are really going through. You can go to college and get an education and want to be a social worker or whatever, but you need to have a training to teach you how to deal and embrace a mother and her child. It's not a business. This is life, and life is in session with mothers and children. And it's devastating the day that they would take a mother from a child from a mother and think nothing of it. I've seen a lot of things on the news where kids has been battered because social workers have came and removed the children from the parents, and the kids got abused in that foster parent. That foster home or that foster parent was not very lovable to that child. And that's understandable because it's not their child. They have no love for that child. Most of the people are getting checks to take care of these kids, so they have no sympathy for these children. But these children are human beings, and they want tender, loving care, no matter who you are, your statute. These kids need to be cared for, and the mothers need to know that their children are being cared for until they get their life together. What they do to mothers, they put them in incarceration. Sometimes when they're there, they help them with education. They ask them to go to parenting. I know I experienced this myself because I did not know when I got incarcerated. And my kids was taken away from me. And they said the only way you're going to get them back is you go through parenting, job training. And I worked at Centinela Hospital, and they said, job training? What kind of job training did I need? Well, I needed to reprogram myself to get my kids back. So I did whatever I had to do. And that was go to parenting, learn how to have a peace of mind in parenting. Well, most people will say, oh, peace of mind? How you gonna have a peace of mind with children? Well, actually you can if you know how to work the process, because kids are just there to be loved and taught to do the right things. And it makes it real easy. But if you put your pressure on children, you don't see a way of ease. So they teach you that. They teach you there's another way in order to teach kids how to do what you want them to do, and a nice, easy, softer way, instead of yelling and screaming at them. So in parenting, they teach you all, and you have to pass that test. You have to pass the paper. You have to understand what they are telling you to do if you want your kids back. It's not because you're the mother and you think that you're supposed to have your children in your life. If you're not doing the right things, you're not making a way for them, you don't have a job for them, the welfare can tell you what to do. And that's just the way it goes. Now you have parents that are rich. They find themselves doing the wrong thing as well, because money do not buy love and understanding from your children. Matter of fact, it spoils them. When you spoil them, they're going to have an attitude. You better know how to deal with it. But guess what? They teach you in parenting how to deal with that too. And that's what's so important. But the system needs, just like parents need to be trained, the system need to be trained too, how to go out there and connect with these mothers and these children. It's so important. It's just so important that we get a connection here. And we work and we get people that have an understanding and an open heart to deal with this situation. Otherwise, it's going to get worse.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Lorraine. And I think you brought up some interesting points that I guess I want to get into a little bit more with you. So, when we were talking over the summer with some other mothers, and we were having our community conversations, we were talking about a lot of the times the system will come in and sort of make, especially for single Black mothers, we talked about a lot, they will come in and make you feel like you're the reason why you're in this situation. You're the one to blame. And it's a very we talked about it being a very isolating feeling. And, and so I was wondering if you could speak more to that. The system comes in, they don't actually talk about what got you in that situation, right? They don't actually come and talk about the reasons why people don't have housing, or the reasons why children might not have new clothes every day to wear, the reasons that some people call CPS for, right? The system doesn't necessarily address those things, and it particularly targets, Black women, especially Black women who are poor. So I'm wondering if you could say some more about that and some of the discussions that we've had.
That is really a good subject, because the Black mothers are treated like trash. And I'm just going to tell the truth, because I'm one of them and I was treated that way. And I did not appreciate it. And that's why I fought back in such a wonderful way. I got all the education, parenting, and everything that I needed to do what I needed to do. And when I did that, actually, it worked. It really worked. I wasn't that stupid ass Black woman you thought that you could just run over and take my beautiful little kids away from me. I worked very hard to get them back. When you said no, I kept working on to seeing and hearing a yes from a patient's face and their lips. That was my goal because I know they was trying to scandal me as a Black woman, like a Black slave. But I remember Sojourner Truth and Headman Tubman, how they worked so hard to set us free. So I just kept fighting, even though I got in a situation in my life with my first husband and drugs and alcohol. You know, I was a PTA mother. I worked at Centinela Hospital. You know, I was living a good life, raising my children. And the next thing you know, I found myself homeless and without my children because I made bad choices. You know, I was young. I used to hear that song, Stand By Your Man. And that's what I was doing. It didn't matter if it was good or bad. I didn't know. You know, when you love somebody, it's all good. But until you find out it knocks you through the wall, then you wake up to the reality of life. So then, when I saw how the system worked, it was very devastating.
Yeah.
It was very devastating how they do a Black woman. Because I've been in the room with a white woman, and she got way more support than I did. And that was in the 80s, 90s. You know, I saw it with my own eyes. And I said, why? I said, why? I cried my heart out. My tears were like rain coming down. And I wondered why. All the whys I could say and try to figure out. But I just couldn't let it happen. I just couldn't let it continue to happen in my life. I was one woman fighting for the rights of my children back in my life. And it was not easy. And the system didn't help me until later when I got on their level. You got to get on their level. You got to get on their level, you know? You really got to give them their level in order to see and have your eyes wide open, your mind ready to study, your mind ready to educate what you need to do. I think a situation that a mother goes to is worse, is about as good as getting a college degree, bachelor's degree, because you got to know what you got to do. You cannot stand and feel sorry for yourself because the system will let you down, send you through the ringer. You think you're on a roller coaster. But fortunately, I had seatbelt on and I rode that ride. I rode that ride. I sure did, honey. It was scary. I go up, they pull me down. I go up, they pull me down. But I had my seatbelt on, girl. And the last time they pulled me down, I was able to rise my damn self. And that's the way it goes. And that's the way it goes. The system is hardcore on women. And women need to stick together. You can't do this on your own. You just can't do it. Everything is a change today. Things are not like they used to be anymore. Gotta make a change, make a better future for our mothers and our children. And rent, who can pay $2,000? You got children, they gotta go to school to get an education. Who can pay that? A single mother, who can pay that much rent? Why are they doing this to women and children? And then they want you to be on Section 8, but yet they have you on a waiting list. What do you do in the meantime? Do they think about you? Do they take care of you while you're waiting on that waiting list? Where are you supposed to be? In a tent on 5th and San Pedro? Where are you supposed to be while you're waiting? This is a devastating situation. And I hope we'll make a change. It's got to make a change. We have got to make a change. You know, they building all these high risers and stuff. Are they making a space for mother and children? Who want to be in a high riser? Where's the common apartment or little house for mother and her child? You know, it doesn't take that much. They just need to give the mother and child that money to do so. They give you what? Little of this or little of that? How much do you think diapers cost? How much do you think that milk costs? just to take care of your children. And you know, the bad thing, sometimes mothers have turned it into a good thing. And I want to say, women have been raped and end up pregnant. Some have had a abortion, but some chose to keep the baby. She didn't ask for the baby, but it happened. But she want to take care of that baby, not knowing how. So a lot of them, they do go with on welfare. They go ask for assistance and care. A long time ago, they used to ask you, well, what time did you fuck? What time did you do this? What time, and how did it feel? Really, vividly, they used to write that down on a piece of paper. So that lets you know right there, they didn't care. They was more into the sex part, how you got pregnant, than they was into taking care of you. You know, it's sad. It's really sad.
Yeah.
I'm talking this way because I know how hard and sad it is. And I'm still listening to women, and I'm still seeing women, children taken away from them. And they end up homeless on the streets of Los Angeles and probably all over the world. Look at Ukraine. How many kids are lost there? What are they going to do? Are they going to help them mothers? And are they going to help those children get back on their feet? Well, things happen in people's lives, and the world is letting people know things happen. We have to be ready to be there to fix it in an easy, soft, beautiful way. That's the only thing that's going to make us whole again. Mothers can be able not to be in fear. Do you know how much and how many women are in fear today? Let alone trying to walk down the street and some man hits you upside your damn head. It's crazy. It's crazy. But our mothers are important. Yeah. And we need to fight for righteousness and justice for them.
Yeah, that was all so beautiful, Lorraine. I love everything that you pointed out. And, you know, something that we talk about, and even you alluded to this a little bit earlier, is, you know, the system will come in, they'll take your children, and they'll force you to do all of these different things. You have to go through all these loops, you know, you have to go to parenting classes, you have to go to jobs training, no matter what the allegation is, right? You could be in the system for poverty and they'll have you taking a jobs training class or a parenting class, and your parenting is fine. You just don't have money, right? And the system, like you're saying, it doesn't necessarily give parents money, right? It's not like they're giving people money to get out of these situations, but instead, you know, they're taking that money and using it for other reasons. And you even said this over the summer, you know, somebody used your stories to make money, and you saw none of that. And meanwhile, you were struggling through the system, and you were on the news somewhere, and they were asking for donations, and you saw none of that money. I remember that story.
Absolutely. Let me tell you about that story. Can I tell you about that story, girl?
Yeah.
Here I am, a young woman on the streets, panhandling, asking people to help me just to survive for that day. You know, sometimes I would just put money in an envelope and send it to my children. And I remember one lady told me, she said, did you get the money I sent you? But let me back up. How she said that, Fred Jordan had put me on the news, girl, and told people I was fresh homeless, just freshly lost my children. And they said, we need to help. It was on the news. The lady, they said that we're going to try to help Lorraine get her children back. I was like, I'm so happy. I mean, like, really? I'm doing this news because these people are going to help me, you know? All I need is some money, because they'll say, you have a place to live or something, you know? And I felt cute at that time. I probably could go live back with my mother and help her pay rent or whatever she needed. I'd have money, you know, and my kids could come back to me. And so we did the news and everything, and I go back out panhandling, you know, and on 4th and Spring. And the lady said to me, she said, Did you get the money I sent for you? Huh? Of course. I saw you on the news and I send money in for you. Oh my God. I still feel what that lady was telling me right now, because that meant a lot. She really cared about me trying to get my children back. And this lady and gave money for me. Oh my God. But they never gave it to me, and they never, ever helped me get my children back. And I used to stand in front of the liquor store, and this lawyer for the liquor store say, "Oh, I saw you on the news. You should be rich." Because I know your story was so dynamic. I know people sent you money. I know they did, because I even sent you some. I said, wow, that was a trip. That was just this woman homeless on the street trying to get her children back. And I'm hearing all this stuff, but I never got the help until I went to Good Shepherd Center for Homeless Women. They saw me under my bench, and they would always come and tell me to get from under that bench. And they try to get me to come into their program, but I was too afraid. So they would always bring me the clothes I like, food I like, or some cookies, coffee, which I didn't drink coffee when I was kind of young at that time. And a boiled egg. Sister Ann, I'll never forget her name. Her name was Sister Ann at Good Shepherd Center. They just kept coming out, and trying to help me. And I finally got in that van one day, took me a shower for the first time in a long time, being out there on the streets. And I just felt, just taking that shower, I just felt so renewal, so clean. Like I washing my hair, and I just felt so clean. I just felt so new. My mind started thinking everything, and they tried to help me. So they had workers there, and I watched them, how they helped me. And that's why I know today people can really help people. They have to have an open heart to really, really want to help that person, one person at a time, one woman at a time. And they just kept on and kept on. I mean, paperwork was so high. When they're doing paperwork, man, it's a lot of work. I mean, I used to see them almost crying, going to legal aid and all these places just to help me, because they knew I was Black, and they was turning me down. They was turning me down. I think it was because the color of my skin. I really do. I really, really do. But you know what? Those people just kept on. And when you fill out papers correctly, it goes through. And I just kept jumping around there, happy and telling them I want my kids back in my life. They would give me gifts and stuff, and I would send them back. I would send them to my children. Things I couldn't even afford, things that I didn't have money for. But I kept my children on my mind. That's how I made it. I met rich people that wanted to take me home with them, you know, men, how they gonna be. But no, I probably end up dead in their apartment. And it wasn't my life, because my kids wasn't with me. So it didn't matter what you had. If my kids wasn't with me, that wasn't my life.
Yeah.
So they helped me at the Good Shepherd Center. Oh my God. I lived there. They did lots of paperwork, so I know what paperwork will do. Footwork and paperwork is very important. And they did it. And then I got they helped me get my first apartment on Section 8, which was a lot of work.
Yeah.
It was a lot of work. And then, you know, I stopped drinking, I stopped using, because I saw that my life was being turned around for the better. And I wasn't going to let nothing mess that up. Yeah. I remember when I was going to services on the streets, because you got to go to service to eat. And the preacher said, look, if you hear Jesus call your name, don't say you're not ready. And that day I got saved, I heard my name called. That was October 6, 1994. They sent me to an alcohol center for women that day. And that counselor told me, we're going to help you. They said, her name was Myra. She said, we're going to help you. Don't be ashamed of yourself. Don't be ashamed of yourself, she said. We're going to help you. I was so ashamed and remorseful about my life. But when she said that, don't be ashamed. And they helped me. And I graduated from that program. I graduated from that program.
Yeah.
Then I went to USC because they said you have to work or go do something. I went to USC and I was a social worker. They let me be a social worker at USC. I did 500 hours there because when I was homeless on the streets, I went there. When I got shot, when I got stabbed, I went there and they helped me every time. And the social worker would always tell me, because they would give me money and clothes when I leave there. They said, you can change your life and you can have a better life. Those was the top social workers there. And then when I went there to work, I said, I want to work with those social workers that was helping me. So they said, okay, we'll make you a social worker and they will be your boss. And I was serving the people that was living among the streets of Los Angeles, walking down the street when they said, wow, if you can do it, I can do it. All these encouraging things people was telling me. So I knew I was on the right track, but I knew what it was like to be a social worker. Even people knew that I slept upon the streets with them. I'm able to give them we had medication for like Advils or something they needed, or we had clothes to give them. And they would talk to the top social worker and they were so loving to the people. I said, wow, these people are amazing. They're really helping. And these are less unfortunate people. And these social workers there was helping, just like they helped me. They didn't look down on me. They helped me. They helped me to be an attitude of gratitude to help other people that was in my shoes.
Yeah.
And it was so important. So that I know what it's like. I know what it feels like, and I know what we have to do. You have to have it in your heart to help people because they need to feel you. This is not just about a job. This is somebody's life, like I said, and life is in session. And here I am today, clean and sober, 27 years, because all the kind people that stood by me and loved me, and I was a stranger to them. I was a stranger, one individual, but I wanted to get back to my children. That's why I'm here today, because they was everything to me.
Yeah. That's such a beautiful testimony, Lorraine, and thank you so much for sharing all of that. You've really been through so much. And I'm just really grateful to hear that there are so many people who are able to step in, because even all the people you were listing, even social workers, they weren't in the child welfare system. They were other people who were outside of the system. And I think that gives people, I'm a social worker myself, and a lot of people who are going into social work question if they have to go into the child welfare system and take children from their families. And I'm like, there are other things that you can do. There are other ways you can help people. And I think that your example, there's that.
Yeah, help. Hey, that's the word. Help them. Help. Say, find out their needs. Find out.
Yeah. And that doesn't require you, joining a system that takes children. You can help in so many other ways. And I think that your example really showed that. And I think that'll be helpful for people to hear, because they sometimes don't know that there are other ways. So I
absolutely
really that. Yeah,
absolutely. And you're right. And how I can tell you that story. Can you imagine what other mothers have inside of them. They just haven't shared because some don't have a voice and don't think that sharing what they have been through is valuable to anyone else but themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. So I think that was so beautiful. And I think another thing that was so beautiful about your story is everything, even when you were still, using substances and you were still going through really difficult things, the main thing you kept talking about is how much you wanted your children. That didn't mean you did not want your children or didn't deserve your children. And I think that's really important because sometimes, again, like I said, social worker myself, people will, once the child is removed from their family, they just forget about the parents, right? The birth parents, they become invisible, especially if you're Black, and they think, oh, this person, they don't want their children. They're using substances or they're doing this and that. And that is absolutely not the case, right? Like these are real human beings. These are real mothers who want their children.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really powerful too.
And another you mentioned also, when they are taken away, they're criticized. The mother is criticized. She's a bad person. So that's all the kids get to hear. Your mother was this, your mother was that, your mother was this, your mother was that. All lies, all lies. Because they're rotting in the kid's mind. And guess what? They're not even giving them love. And then kids have to grow up with that. I'm still baffling with my children. But the thing about it, in the program, they say, if you make amends, you made amends, and that's the way you have to leave it. Because if you don't, you'll be back out there yourself feeling sorry for yourself. And I might have wanted my kids back in my life, but I'm damn sure not going back out there to prove nothing to anyone.
Yeah.
If you can accept me, you can. It's like that roller coaster again. They take you to that roller coaster too. And when they want something, they sure know how to use it. But a mother's love is the best treasure in the world. So I just keep loving them and let them live their life. And if they need me, I'm there for them.
Yeah, that's really beautiful, Lorraine. So the last couple of things I wanted to talk about was over the summer, and even what we were just talking about today, we talk about the power of sharing your story and storytelling, right? And that could look a bunch of different ways. I could look through us talking. It could look like these little groups that we had over the summer. It could look like through art. But something powerful that you said to me over the summer is, storytelling is linked, like directly linked to like our liberation, and I was wondering if you could say more about that, because we often discuss, so much money gets put into these systems and not enough gets put into these spaces where we can share our stories and really build the future we want. So I wanted to know if you could talk about like the power of, sharing stories.
Of course, absolutely. That, oh my God. I'm gonna talk a lot, but that's the only way I made it. I was in a group with women. Oh my God. I was like this. I know I never really been in a group with women, so I know how to keep this shot, and I know how to talk about nothing because I was in fear, But the thing about it, when I got in this group and in these walls, and the counselor said, whatever said in these walls, stay inside these walls. Miss Roberta, I'll never forget her. I'm not a gospel. I don't go talking about nobody. If I have to say something about you, I'm going to tell you to your face, because that's the best way. It's no sense in gobbling up a lot of stuff out my mouth, that people will take and use for their own purpose. But we would sit there and I would hear women talking about what was going on in their lives. And see, that's why I'm so freely I can talk about, because I am a voice for those that don't have a voice. They would talk about what happened in their lives. And the thing about it, you hear that story and you say, oh, that's my story. I thought I was the only one going through this. I can't believe it. So it kind of like peels things off of you. All that fear, all that, I can't talk about this. I feel too bad and too remorse and too ashamed. But when you hear other women talking about what they went through, how hard it was for them. You want to open up and share because you might have something that can ease their mind or their pain or something. So group therapy for women is very, very healthy. It's like eating a big old watermelon and just sucking it in. But it's a wonderful thing for group therapy. And they should have more programs for group therapy for women. They should fund it and they should care about it and they should enforce it because it's very important because we have so many lonely people that don't have no one to talk to or afraid to talk because people have women. I'm going to talk about women has been violated in their life and they need to have a safe space in order to share what's going on inside them. That makes them a better woman because they let it go. Can you imagine having so many knots inside your soul and can untie them? I have a hard time untying shoes. I have to be patient enough to try to, because ain't nobody around to untie it. But when you have support, you don't have to do it on your own. You have people around you that can help you and understand what you're going through. And that's what we need today. So many people are in a corner, fear and scared, don't think they can talk to anybody or get help the way they need help. It's very hard. And so I'm hoping that we can have more funds in our government. Mayors will help us. I hope Karen Bass help. I hope she become mayor because I'm sure she will help. We'll have to write her a proposal because she'll be able to help because she's a Black woman and she will understand. I know she will. And I know she could help a lot of organizations with funds about helping women walk with their head up instead of so down to the ground and give them the courage they need to keep on going because that's what we need. I still need it today, the courage to keep on going.
Yeah.
The Urban Voices, Lauren, her name was Lauren, she wrote that song and my part was the strength to keep on going. And I'm thankful I hear that song and it helps me so much because you need the strength. And we're here to help each other, to connect to one another, to give each other the strength. If it's nothing but a kind word, or help a woman fill out her paperwork or do anything. I like WorkSource. I used to have some paperwork and they would always be willing to help me. I was like, yeah, hallelujah. Because honey, I'll look at some paperwork and I just don't understand what it's saying. My eyes turn away. My eyes, it's not a hamburger, so my eyes are not going to drill on it. So it's like, I go cuckoo pop.
I think, Lorraine, I think that's a really great point because, we talked about this over the summer too. And I appreciate you. I always love your spirit and your energy. I just wanted to say that too. I always love that you always bring in this, like, I don't know, you make me want to keep going and I'll be going through some stuff. And I really appreciate that, Lorraine. I really feel like you always bring in that
Thank you
energy.
for seeing that. I appreciate you. So young, girl.
I know, but
Stay
you
on
really
the right track.
I know, but it's very special. Like you have that right. Great.
Well, wait a minute. We got it.
Oh my gosh. But no, I wanted to pause right there because you said something that I think is really important. You said that, and you said this throughout the whole time, like there's so much paperwork that goes into this, right? There's so much paperwork when you go and you talk to a caseworker, you're in the system, there's so much paperwork. And something that we talked about over the summer is sometimes when you're given so much paperwork, especially in the middle of a very traumatic event. So you're talking about somebody going into the system where they either have taken your child or they're about to take your child and they're giving you these pieces of paperwork and you have to consent to all of these different things. And something that I think came up a lot when we were talking in the summer is people don't know what they're signing. Like they have no idea the certain rights they're giving, what data is being collected on them. Is there a file on me? What's in my file? How is this going to affect me and the generations to come? Because that's something that came up a lot over the summer is people have generations of children in the system. And it's all because there's these paperwork that you weren't even aware of what was happening. And so I don't know if you want to say just a little bit about that, but I think that's a really important point because I feel like people don't get enough help understanding what they're signing, what they're signing and what that means for them.
That's a good question because you got people that can't read. I didn't know how to read after I became home and stuff. My brain was whopped. I didn't know how to read. My reading had got so what it was my comprehend. So I probably could read, but I didn't comprehend nothing. And I knew I needed help in that because if they okay, this is the deal. If they have you fill out some papers, and I learned this personally, I learned it. If they have you fill out some papers and you don't fill it right and they feed it through the computer, well, it'll spit it back out. And you go like you don't go on the top of the list no more, you go on the bottom. So you have to wait a while. So that's why it's important if you don't know how to fill out papers, they have people to help you. And that's so important. But a lot of women feel embarrassed or, uneducated or whatever. That's not a problem because you can learn to read, you can get help. I learned to read to learn how to read. I learned how to read by learning how to read.
Right.
And then I learned to comprehend what I needed to understand, what I was reading. Do you get that?
Yep. And I think
it's a process when
I think, yeah, I agree. And I think so too.
When you don't know, now you have people can read, you probably can read very good, but you have even women my age can't even read.
Yeah.
And if you can't read, you have a hard time unless you have somebody. But you know what? I heard a professor was 50 years old. I think his name was John. He didn't tell anybody he could read. He was a professor at a college. Nobody knew he couldn't read, but he had a team that helped him along the way. And that helped me too. That helped me know that all I need is a team, honey. I can get things done. I don't have to feel remorse or ashamed as a woman. But feeling and knowing that you have that default to character helps you to grow in the right direction.
Yeah.
And do the right things and get things done that you need, because it's a process. It's a big process, but you have to have faith and you have to stay positive, because positive thinking will bring good to you all the time. You'll never lose with it.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, Lorraine. Okay, the last thing I wanted to talk about is, so over the summer, we ended some of our sessions with thinking about like, what could this world look like without the child welfare system existing, right? And what could that look like? And what do we need to do to get there? And how do we still, make sure that our families are taken care of without the system? And so some of the things we talked about were, having more resources for single mothers, building relationships with, our neighbors, our families, reparations we talked about. And then we also talked about, having even rethinking like how we live. So having these like sort of villages where, people are dependent on each other and we know how to grow our own food and we have our own resources and we teach each other about, our ancestry, our families. And so, I don't know, we talked about a lot of these different things. Is there anything that you could see or something that you envision for the future, or something that you think we really need or something we need that so we wouldn't have to rely on this very awful punishment system of family separation?
We need a lot of strong voices, number one. Voices that understand and open their heart to the situation that we're going through. We need blocks. We need blocks of understanding, blocks of situations being provided for mothers and children. We need blocks where people are opening up to an organization that can help people and really mean it, because it's not that difficult. We have so many people, so many mothers and children that needs help. And if they can get help in the beginning instead of at the end, it would be so much better, because when you wait to the end, you have a pile of mothers and children waiting. And they keep putting it aside. They keep doing this, they keep doing that. And that's because of the nationality of the mother and child. That makes it really bad. Now, I feel if they can't work with Black people very well, they need to get an organization that works with Black people only. Asian people, white people. If you can't get along, we need to do something about it. I shouldn't have to go into a whole white building to take care of my little Black ass. Excuse my expression. Excuse me.
You're good.
I didn't mean, well, really.
Yeah.
But I shouldn't have to. And I see you walking out there happy and I'm crying my butt off. We should have a system that works for everyone. That's the important thing. Not just some, but for everyone.
Yeah.
And it's simple. It's a simple system, because we already been through the war. We already been. They're gonna do, what do you think they're gonna do in Ukraine? They're not gonna leave it like that. They're gonna rebuild that stuff up there. People are not leaving because they want a better opportunity. Sometimes you need the darkness to see the stars. And we don't give up, but we need a better system. And I'm sure that we can have one. And like I said, hey, get some proud people that want to work with all Black people. And watch a change come. Because what is it? That song, A Change is Coming. Give me somebody that likes me. Give me somebody that want to work with me. To get my needs met. And I'm out your way. I might even come back and sit next to you to help another person, a mother and child. I might be that person. I did it. I went back and worked for that program that helped me for 15 years. Because I knew what those ladies was, when they came through that gate, I knew what they needed. Because that was me coming through that gate again. Every time a woman came through that shelter, that was me. And I know what I wanted to be treated like. I know the way I wanted to be treated. Because I needed to get somewhere. And I wanted to be somebody. And I wanted to have dignity and love in my life. And those are the things that they need to remember and work against. Work for. You know,
yeah. It
can happen. You have to put people in consideration. No mother did wrong. She just want to love her children and be with, but things happen. You got families calling, oh, she's on drugs. Oh, she stayed out all night. Oh, I seen her with Tom, Dick, and Harry. Them kids should not be with her. You know, stuff like that. People are calling, making those calls. People are and nowadays they're filming you. So that's why a lot of things are happening too. So they filming you now, sending the pictures in. So the world has changed.
Yeah.
We have to make it a better world for mothers and their children. And that's an important matter. And I'm speaking from my heart. And I know better because I know what I went through. So we need to be funded and we need help to make it happen. If it's only one organization at a time, get busy. Let's show them what we can do. Let's show them that mother is no longer in a cardboard box or in a tin on the street with her child. Because we cared enough to make a way. But they got to help us because rent is too high. They're saying they're making low income. All the mother needs is a little one of those little houses that they're building now. So they can put down a row, but they do have them in other countries. They have them, but nobody knows where the resources at. And once you find out where the resources is, we can start building and make it happen. People have the money. The government, the president's making trillions. I didn't know nothing about no $1 trillion. I was still stuck on $1 billion, and they making trillions. Yeah. And it's only a mustard seed of that money that will help mothers and their children in a little college or something just to raise their children. They only have their kids for 18 years. That's not that long. But what they do need to have them to take care of them when they're a baby, because they can't take care of themselves. So if they can give them opportunities, and we can find and build on our organizations that care enough to make it happen, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Lorraine, that was beautiful. I know people are going to release it with this and take what you said and your experiences to heart. I really, really appreciate that. Is there anything else you wanted to say before we end? I don't have any more questions.
Okay, I just want to give a shout out to all the mothers with children that are doing their best, because that is all that is required, one day at a time. And if they have got anything out of what I have said, out of my voice reaching out, I'm very grateful. And my prayers go out to them, because it's not an easy ride. But together, we will have justice, and we will get victory, because victory is coming. And don't leave 5 minutes before the miracle. And don't ever, ever give up. Much love to all the mothers. Much love to you and your children, your household, wherever you stay. Just keep thinking of a better place and a better way. Come together with your voice. Share it with other mothers, with other women that's going to become a mother. We got to give them props too, because as we speak, there's a whole lot of them walking around with them big fat stomachs, and the summer's coming, and they will be dropping them. And they want to keep their babies. And I honor every mother, because there's nothing like a mother's love. Thank you for your time and allowing me to speak.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lorraine. That was great. Let me